Hello everyone, welcome back to Herbies Garage. Today we're working on the 2022 LIFAN KPV 150 scooter, and I'm just going to show you how to remove the seat and remove the plastics so you can do any kind of work on it, valve adjustment or anything else if you have to get to the gas tank, fuel pump, anything like that. I'm going to show you how to do this. We're just going to go ahead and get started. First thing you want to do is you want to pop your seat. Just turn that to the left and your seat pops up. And then I'm going to set you up, and then we're going to start taking these bolts and screws out. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this panel down here. It has two Phillips head screws. Well, it's not really Phillips head, it's JIS, Japanese Industrial Standard. And if you don't have a JIS screwdriver, you might want to look into one of these. This is an impact driver. You can hit it with a hammer and it kind of helps loosen stuck screws. I really like this screwdriver. Actually, first time I've seen this screwdriver was on one of my favorite YouTube channels, this Bearded Mechanic. I really like to watch him. I like him and Sean both from SRK Cycles, Beards, Bikes and Beards. But anyway, take this panel off first. And then there's 4 screws back here, and we'll take this panel out. And this is the battery cover back here. And then we want to take an 8mm, and we're going to take these 4 bolts out. There's 4 of them in here. And they got washers on them. Sometimes them washers will difficult to get out with your fingers, so get you a magnet, pull them out. That way you won't lose them. Okay, now we're ready to lift this up, and just be careful of this plug down here. You want to lift this up, and there's wires back here for the battery. You just kind of scoop those wires in and lift it up. Now you have to know that right here is a light, and it's going to be hitting right here on the edge, so you got to kind of pull that edge up like that so that light will come out of that hole. Okay, then you pull this kind of forward, and then this plug, you let it drop down into the hole. Now you want to shut this, and then down here is your electrical connection. You want to take that off like that. You want this shut. You want this lid shut before you take that connection off, because you don't want power going to it. There's 2 of them. There's one right here, and then there's one right here in the front. As you can see, it has 2. Then that comes out. Okay, now we want to take this white panel off, but before we do that, we have to take this panel off so that we can get to the bottom screw of this one. So we want to flip open our passenger foot peg. And then we'll take this 5mm screw out, the 5mm hex. We'll take that out. Well, it's a long screw. And then we'll pop it out and then lift it backwards. It's got a pop pin right here, and then that front edge tucks in. Now you may or may not have to take this bracket off, but if you do, it has 2 bolts holding it on. It's 6mm. It's the same on both sides if you have to take this bracket off. We'll just go ahead and take it off, get it out of the way, because we're going to take this other plastic piece off, and this is going to be in the way. And after you get those 2 bolts out, that just comes off. Okay, now we got to take this big painted piece out of here. And this is a 5mm hex. We'll take that out. And we'll take this screw out at the front with a JIS Phillips. Alright, now on this panel tucks down. So what you have to do is you have to lift this panel up. Just pull up on it and out like that. Now as you can see, it's got all these things that tuck in. There. And then these tuck in back here, this one and this one. So you have to lift up to pull it out of its opening. And there's one here and one in the front. So all you have to do to get it out is lift it straight up after you get those 2 screws out of it. Okay, now we're ready to take off this big plastic panel. So what we have to do first is this rubber insert down here. We have to pop this off. As you can see, that's what holds it on. It just pops down the holes. Then we have to take out a bunch of screws. The JIS Phillips head, whatever you want to call them. That's 1. This is 2. This is 3. We got one up here, it's 4. One right here, it's 5. This is 6. And this one's got a washer on it. 7. It's got a washer on it. There's one right here. It's 8. Okay, then there's one up here in the front under the headlight on this left side over here that we have to take out. That's 9. And then down here a little lower is another one, and that's 10. Okay, that's all the screws. And then down here at the bottom is your center stand, and then right here below it, right where this silver meets the black, right here there is a plastic push pin. I'll take it out and I'll show that to you. There we go. And that's what that looks like. Now when you get underneath the bike, that's the way it's going to look. It's going to look flush. You just take your pick and you push in the center of it like that, pop it down, and then this whole piece lifts out. And when you put it back in, it has to be like this. You set it in, push that all the way down, and you're locked, and it's done. Okay, now we'll take out these 3 8mm bolts. There's those 3. Alright, now we're ready to remove this panel. The easiest way to do this is these tabs right here. You got to pull this out and then pull the whole thing towards you and drop the tab behind you. Same with this one in the back. And then there's one here. Kind of fold, don't fold the painted one too much, just this black one. Pull it out from underneath of it. All right, then we can lift this up and it just pops out, and I'll show you what it looks like once I get this out and you can see it real good. Oop, I missed one screw. There's one right here. This would be number 11. There we go. Alright, that's number 11. And then we just pull it out. And as you can see, it's got a hole here where it tucks into a tab. You flip it over, then you'll see that it's got one here, and then these here have to go back in order for that to come out. And then these three set on posts right there that have to be lifted up. And in the back here, this kind of tucks in back here, and this is the hole with that plastic pop pin I was telling you about. And then this comes out. Now see, now you got all this area where you can adjust your throttle cables. You can look at your fuel pump if you have to do any kind of testing or anything. Your valve clearance adjustment is right here. So you got all this access. If you need to remove the other panel, you can do the same process, but I just want to demonstrate how to remove these plastics. This is the main parts that you're going to have to take off to do basic maintenance. All this other plastic that's on here, the stuff in the back and this stuff in the front, most of the time you don't have to mess with unless you have an electrical issue. So I just want to show you how to remove these plastics to do your basic maintenance. Okay, we'll go ahead and put this plastic piece back in, and before we do that, we want to go over and we want to check all of these clip-on fasteners to make sure everything's tight. This one here is a little bit loose, and if they are loose, you can see how wide the gap is. Just squish it down like that a little bit, make it a little bit narrower, and then pop it on, and that'll make it on there a lot tighter. Make sure that you got all those on there good. There's one here, here, and here as well, and here. So make sure those are all on good. This one here too. And then once you make sure that's all good, and you can take your plastic piece and you got to tuck this part underneath, and this part here's got to go over a lip right here. So you got to get this started first in the front. Okay, now I got that tucked in, and that corner's looking pretty good. Okay, after you get this front end put in, then you got to make sure this back here gets tucked in. The silver part gets tucked underneath this black part. Make sure that these feet in the front that have to slide forward are down in the slots. There's two of them, and then there's a lining pin. Make sure that's in, and then push it forward until it snaps in. These posts have to come through these three holes. And once you have it all together, it should look like it's fitting together good. Then you pull this black plastic piece out, and you want to tuck it behind the white piece, put it on the post, put your white piece back on, and then you want to bring this back out, put it back on. Same with this one, put it back on. All right. Now we've got all that together, we'll go ahead and start putting our screws back in. Here's one. And kind of hold your plastics together whenever you're putting this together. That way to make your seams look really good. See, I had to push that up just a little bit to get that hole to line up, and that made that click in there to make that line look really nice. Okay, now I'm going to take my 2 screws with the washers on them and put them on these 2 posts. Everything we're doing is in the reverse procedure of taking it apart. We're just putting it back together the same way we took it apart. Okay, so we put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven. That's 8. And then there's one right here in the front. This is 9. And then don't forget about these 2 in the very front. I like to use a short stubby screwdriver for those. If you leave your wheel straight, it's probably the easiest for getting these screws in. There's one. And then there's one more up here. Okay. Now all the screws are in. We'll put these bolts in. 8mm head bolts. There's 3 of them. Then we'll put this back on. Let's find the holes and pop it back in. Alright. Now back here in the back, we want to put our pop pin in. Find the hole, push it in, push the center in, and you're done with that. Okay, this is all put back together. Now I'm going to put the other pieces back on. Okay, now we'll put our big white trim piece back on. And remember, you got to tuck this down. So you got to line it up. And just line this hole up with this post. It makes it a little bit easier to find your location where you need to be. Make sure it looks good. Set it in there. And just push straight down. And make sure that this lip right here is tight against the black plastic. If it's tight against the black plastic, it'll tuck in there. And it'll be a nice, clean, good-looking line. Alright, then we'll put our screw back in. Alright. Then we'll put our screw in the front back in. Alright, then we'll put our passenger foot peg bracket back on. Tighten it down good. Okay. Then we'll put our cover plate on, and it just slides in the front like that, and it pops in. And then this one screw goes in, bolt, screw. It's a long one. Okay, that part's done. Let's move up to the seat. Then you want to take your seat and you want to plug in your plug-ins. One up here in the front, and it just snaps in. And then there's one in here in the back. Okay, you snap both of those in. What we need to do is open it up. And before we start putting it in, this wire in the back, it's a diagnostic wire. We want to pull it up and have it laying inside. Now, if you remember, we had to pull this out in order to get this past this light, and we're going to do the same thing, putting it back in. Let it drop in. Once that drops in, the whole thing will fall right into place. Put our bolt with our washer on it. And like I said, there was 4 of them. Two in the front and 2 in the back. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this up. Alright, then I leave my diagnostic port out and make sure that these metal pieces are good and tight. Which that one feels a little bit loose. I'm going to squish it down a little bit more. You could use a pair of pliers on this if you need to get a little bit more squish out of it. But you don't want to lose them. That keeps them in place a little better. Okay, then we just take this and just drop it straight down. Then when you put things together like this, you kind of push the lines together so you don't have such a big gap to make it look real nice. You want a good quality job when you're done. Okay, cover's on. There's my diagnostic port. Now I'm going to put this panel in. It's probably best to remove the screws because you got to tuck this in a little bit. And this does have washers on it. I'm going to leave them washers in there. This panel in now. As you can see, it's got these 2 tabs in the front. You want to line those tabs up like that. Push it down. Now see, this one down here is loose and it came off of its location and I couldn't see the screw hole, so you gotta be sure to check them all. That was my mistake. Check this one too. If you keep those tight, then you don't have to worry about your screws coming out. Or you don't have to worry about these things coming out the next time you take the panel out. Alright, so now we're going to put this in. We'll line the tabs up, push down a little bit in the front in order for that to go in. Okay, then I'll put the washer on this screw. Okay, as you can see, my light is working inside of my seat pan. Everything's put back correctly. Now we can just shut it. And there we go. As you can see, everything's put back the way it's supposed to be. Didn't have anything break. Didn't have any problems. Well, that'll take care of everything. In case you wanted to do a valve clearance check and adjustment, I showed you that on the last video. I showed you on this video how to get to it, to take everything off, and so you should be set to go. This bike is not that hard to work on. I mean, the plastics come off relatively easy. It's got a few fasteners on that one part that takes a little bit, but it's no big deal. It all went back together good, and I didn't break anything, and that's a good thing about plastics, is that a lot of times they're flexible. You just got to be really careful on the painted surfaces, because if you fold painted surfaces too much, the paint can crack. So you want to do this, the black plastic, if you have to bend anything, to bend that, not the painted surface, if you can avoid it. I mean, you can bend just a little bit of the painted surface, just don't get extreme with it. But anyway, that's pretty much it for taking care of the plastics and the seat. If you ever just had to take the seat off to get down to the fuel injection, to maybe adjust the idle down there or whatever you got to do, this is a quick and easy job, taking this seat off. I know if you've never done it before, didn't know about the light hitting, you know, I mean, now you know. So anyway, I appreciate you coming along, and I'll see you on the next one.